Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode of the Geek Bravado Ramble. It's late at night right now. It's about 10:30, and I'm still really tired and still really cranky for a pile of reasons. Some of them the same as last time, some of them not. But I've been putting off doing this video. I'd hoped to do it last week, and I figure, well, I got to get it done tonight because if I don't, I'm just going to keep making excuses. And when I make the video, it pressures me to write the blog that goes with it. So this will hopefully be up pretty soon. And it's kind of good that I waited in a bit of a sense because, well, so the title of this blog post, at least the tentative title right now, is New Media's Vicious Cycle. And it was to talk about some problems that I foresee happening with YouTube and Twitch and the way they are approaching things. Well, I had never had any intention of talking about YouTube's new comments system, which rolled out over the weekend. And now that's happened. So, well, I don't have a lot of comment for it. It's going to be kind of a pre-addendum here, if you will. I don't have a lot of comment on it because I've only been reading up on it. My channel is not very busy, and I don't have a lot of comments on it right now. So because of that, um, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I've seen what it's about, and I've seen the other channels that are writing about it, and from what I can tell, I generally agree with them. It looks like an utter disaster. It looks like not only have they forced everyone who wants to comment on or enable comments on a YouTube video to sign up for Google's god-awful Facebook clone that nobody wants to be a part of. They've actually taken the problem of YouTube comments, which were a cesspool before, and actually made it worse by now allowing people to post unlimited length posts and to put links in comments which have already been co-opted by spam bots and viruses, and they basically just made everything a lot worse. I don't know who the hell was in charge of this over there or what they were thinking, but they need to be fired right now. I don't know. This seems a little different than just, people go, "Oh, people just hate change. It's like when Facebook posts an update and everyone gets mad, blah 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 blah." I don't think so. This is different. Some of YouTube's biggest partners are talking about not only disabling comments but finding other places to put their stuff. Like Total Biscuit has shut off comments. PewDiePie for God's sakes has shut off comments. A lot of big channels are doing it, and a lot of guys like Nerd Cubed and some of these other guys are talking about finding ways to get out of YouTube, and that's bad. The only thing, if YouTube's even profitable yet, the only thing that's making it profitable is these partners, and if they leave, they have nothing left. So I hope they listen. I hope they either tweak it or even reverse it, because YouTube comments were awful before, but just from what I've seen already, they're way worse now. So, who knows? I hope they do something about that, but that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But the original point of this post was what I call New Media's Vicious Cycle. And what I mean about that is that new media, and when I'm referring to new media, I'm referring to stuff like YouTube, Twitch, mostly that affects gaming-related topics, and that's because that's what my channel is primarily about as well. And I call it a vicious cycle because I am seeing these venues do stuff that is eerily reminiscent of the content industries that they are hoping to replace or supplant. So I mean things like Hollywood, television, things like that. Their mentality is becoming very blockbuster and AAA focused, and that's the thing that killed or is killing everything else right now. And you can point to the games industry itself and a lot of other places, especially Hollywood as well. And I think it's a really bad road to go down. I think it's really bad for new content creators, and I think it's really going to hurt the platform in the long term, and I think it's very short-sighted public company thinking. So I should preface a little bit here. This is probably going to come across a little bit as sour grapes or bitterness from someone who had an idea, tried to start up a YouTube channel, and has gotten nowhere with it so far. My channel is not really growing. My views are poor. My subscriber growth is poor. And yeah, I'm a little bitter about it. I have no desire to become YouTube famous or to get myself in a position where I'm making a living off of this stuff like the PewDiePies and the Total Biscuits and the Day Nines and all these other guys. I don't want to do that. I think YouTube, as is being demonstrated right now with the comments issue, YouTube is an extremely risky career endeavor, and it's something that I require more stability than that right now. But it is really frustrating when you put a lot of time and thought and effort into producing a video and nobody watches it. Not so much because you're making content that no one wants to watch. I don't think I am. I think people want to watch retro gaming stuff, but because nobody can find you. The biggest watchword in most content industries right now is discoverability. And the best way to put this, you've heard a lot of this about mobile gaming in the last while. Mobile gaming is becoming increasingly hit focused, and only a few big players are dominating the space, and everybody's kind of getting crunched. And why is that? Well, it's very simple. If you go to the front page of most app stores, and I'm not just talking Apple here, everybody's guilty of it. If you go to the front page of most app stores, you will see that the only stuff that tends to get promoted for the most part is what is already popular. And everything else kind of just gets buried away. And unless you're really, really looking for it or on a quest to find something different, you're probably going to get, the people are probably going to pass your content over. And that's becoming a problem with things like YouTube and Twitch as well. It's only become an issue very recently because this whole issue of people actually being able to make a living off of YouTube and split ad revenue is only a couple of years old. Some of the most successful YouTubers only started 2-3 years ago at this thing, so it's very, very new, and everybody's still learning and still figuring it out. But the thing that's really getting my goat as a new channel trying to get found is that it's basically impossible to promote yourself now against some of the bigger stuff. Especially since now we have a lot of gaming press and former gaming press people deciding to jump on this bandwagon now with live streaming and YouTube. You know, we've seen guys, well, Eurogamer's big into this, videogamer.com is big into this, GameSpot, Giant Bomb, they've been into it for a while. But we've started seeing other things recently, like, for example, Jim Sterling and Jeff Green have gotten into it. And you know what? I like Jim Sterling. I like a lot of his coverage, a lot of what he writes. I mean, Jeff Green hasn't done much in that space since he left GFW to go work for EA, but I really like him and his perspectives. But the thing that's really frustrating is these guys are decided to jump into YouTube and Twitch. They already had installed audiences, and in Jim Sterling's case, he was allowed to promote his stuff in venues that other people don't get to go. I don't get to have front page stories on Destructoid promoting my content, for example. And it's frustrating to see, you know, I'm trying very hard with no budget and very limited free time to make content that people find interesting. I'm learning, to be sure, but I think I'm making pretty good stuff. You know, I put some real money and effort into this channel to make it look professional, and not getting a lot of growth, whereas I see Jim Sterling, who is posting nothing more than generic Let's Play content and the occasional top 10 video that is specifically designed to troll people for easy hits, and he's got, you know, 50,000 subscribers and a Polaris partnership after like 2 weeks of running his channel. Jeff Green is doing live streaming with abysmal production value. I mean, it's pain. Like, again, I like these guys, but Jeff Green's stuff is painful to watch right now, and he's getting a huge boost with no effort whatsoever. He just started a YouTube channel. I have no doubt that he'll have a partnership pretty soon as well. And I don't fault these guys for getting in on this. This is an important new medium to involve yourself in, and they have installed audiences already that they can promote to. It would be I would be doing it if I was them. But I also think it's kind of unfair to new content holders that are trying to start up, in the sense that the problem that these venues have is that they are getting into the same AAA blockbuster mentality of only promoting and cycling up what's already popular and what doesn't need the promotion. So you may remember in my Geek Bravado ramble about Extra Life, I kind of took the piss out of Twitch because Twitch on their website has some what they call promoted games and promoted channels, which is that if you're watching Twitch on the left side where the navigation bar is, it highlights certain games that they think are a big deal right now that you can click on to see all the streams of those games, and you can see they have promoted channels, which are certain people that they're like, hey, you should go watch this. The promoted games are always the same handful of half a dozen titles: Minecraft, League of Legends, Dota 2, StarCraft, Battlefield 4, whatever the first-person shooter of the moment is, and things like that. They never promote any indie games. They never promote any older stuff. They never promote anything different than those few games. And it's really frustrating because if you want to find a stream of Dota 2, it's not hard to find that using their search tool. Same thing with the promoted channels. I actually haven't been on Twitch recently, but I want to see what they're showing at this very moment. So I'm just going to go here. So the promoted games as of this moment are League of Legends, Hearthstone, and StarCraft 2. They actually have no promoted channels right now. But most of the time you'll see channels come up. It will be Day 9. It will be a couple of other guys who are already popular. They have thousands and thousands of followers and subscribers. They don't need the help. They don't. They have an audience who can find them and who will find them when they want to. And they just simply don't need the promotion, but they're the only guys who get promoted. Meanwhile, I do a live stream of a slightly older game or even a newer game like Typing of the Dead or something. I get 2 or 3 viewers because I'm not already popular. And that's a real problem. On YouTube, the way you get promoted right now is by your what's called retention rating, which is basically when someone starts watching your video, how long they continue to watch it before they click off to something else. I've been repeatedly told when we were doing All Together Now and putting up 1-hour episodes, we were getting repeatedly told, no, you can't do that. You have to cut your episodes up into 10 or 15-minute segments because the YouTube crowd has ADD and they will never sit through a 1-hour video. A lot of people won't even start a 1-hour video. And if you don't have a high retention number, then YouTube won't promote you. And the way you get that high retention number is by splitting your content up into smaller segments so that it's easy to game the system. That's basically what you're doing. It's still an hour of content, but if you put it out in 4 15-minute chunks and people watch, don't get through the whole hour, but watch, say, half an hour of it, you've got 100% retention rating on 2 videos as opposed to 50% retention rating on 1 video. See where I'm going here? And retention rating, and there's other metrics as well. YouTube and Google never discuss the secret sauce of how they promote things, but that's generally the way it works. That's how you get promoted. And even then, you will generally be drowned out by the big channels that have 1 million+ subscribers. When you're looking into the what's related or, the videos you might like section or anything like that, it's very, very rare that you will find smaller channel stuff there. It's almost always related to stuff from big channels unless you're researching something that no one else has covered. My idea of doing sort of a WTF is style of show on retro games is not really done very much on YouTube. There's not a lot of it out there, and most of what is there is frankly terrible. But if you search for a game title that I've covered and someone else has covered worse, chances are the other person will show up higher in the search rankings. I did something a while ago, I can't remember what it was, but I searched for a retro title that I covered. It wasn't a very popular retro title, and I actually showed up near the bottom of the first page, and all the videos that were above my video in the YouTube search page didn't even have the title of the game in the video title or the description. I don't even know why they came up, to be honest with you. Most of them had nothing to do with it. Like, some of them were music videos, and it was friggin' weird. And that's the problem. That was all, again, it was content that was already popular. And this is the blockbuster mentality. This is the reason that Activision is just pumping out Call of Duty games every year and not focusing on much else. It's why EA sent Syndicate out to die, but will spend twice the development budget of a Battlefield game to market it. It's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is rumored to have cost over $200 million, mostly in marketing, whereas nothing else Take-Two puts out even comes close. And it's why nothing that isn't guaranteed to be $1 billion hit in Hollywood really gets any promotion anymore. In many cases, even gets made. And I think that's a really bad thing, because the whole point of things like YouTube, like Twitch, were that these are venues where literally anyone with a modicum of technical know-how can make content and put it out there and get noticed and possibly get big from it. Some of these guys have. Total Biscuit, a guy who, for his faults, I admire greatly, because he came up from nothing. You know, he was practically destitute when he managed to get his channel off, and now he does extremely well from it and does a whole pile of cool stuff, which is really, really amazing and admirable. These are supposed to be democratized forms of media, things that it's kind of supposed to be the indie games to the AAA, if you will. It's not controlled. It's not run by a handful of large companies. It's not run through walled gardens that you can only get into if you play nice with certain people. Anybody can put up what they want and, in theory, make it big. And that's a great idea, but the problem is YouTube and Twitch are very quickly wrapping themselves around the notion that Hollywood or the music industry or the television industry is, which is sure bets, safe bets, promoting only what's popular and figuring out what to replace that content with tomorrow. That's the Eric Schmidt Google philosophy. That's short-term public company thinking philosophy. And with Twitch closing all these rounds of venture capital funding, presumably in the hope that they'll make money someday, it's the same problem. They're wrapping themselves around the safety blanket of what is already popular and continuing to promote that so heavily, because, God, if those audiences go away, what are we going to do? And I get why they're worried about that, but they have to think, in my opinion, they have to think further out than that. They have to think beyond the established popular properties, because the fact is, and this is a problem that the AAA game industry arguably is already running into, and that Hollywood is already running into, according to some very prominent filmmakers, is that what's going to happen when nobody's around to consume that stuff anymore? What happens when people get bored of Total Biscuit and Day 9 and PewDiePie? Or what happens when those guys decide to stop making YouTube content? Either they've made enough money and decide they want to retire on an island somewhere, or they just decide they're out of it, or they're sick of the YouTube community, which Google has just made a lot worse. And they just decide, you know what, I'm done. I don't care how many subscribers I have. I don't care that I'm making $200,000 a year from this. I'm going to do something else. What happens when those guys leave? Someone has to replace them. And right now, nobody's really getting found except for a couple of outliers. No one's really getting discovered because you can't find their stuff, and you're not giving any new people a chance. I'm not saying that I'm as good as any of these bigger guys. I'm not saying that my channel deserves to take them over. That's for viewers to decide, but the problem is people have to be able to find my stuff in order to make that decision. And what's kind of making me a little bitter right now is that I don't think people are watching my stuff and saying, I don't like that, I'm going to go watch something else. I think a lot of people out there who might like my stuff don't know it's there, so they can't come and look at it. And I've tried to promote the channel in other ways. You put it on Reddit and anywhere where it's relevant, and it will get buried within seconds. If you don't get banned because there isn't a subreddit that is even remotely clear on how you're supposed to post things. No, nobody. That's the problem. Nobody can find my stuff, and I'm certainly not the only YouTuber having this problem. There are people playing much more popular stuff, and this is another thing that I hate. Is some of the big YouTubers, like Total Biscuit says, I hate people who bandwagon. You shouldn't bandwagon. You shouldn't just latch on to a popular game in order to get yourself noticed because you're doing the same thing everyone else is, and that's boring. And da 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 da. But I don't know what the alternative is. When you go to Twitch and see the two, a MOBA and two Blizzard games are the promoted titles, what are you supposed to do? If you don't bandwagon, you don't show up there, and you'll never get noticed. If you don't bandwagon on YouTube, if you don't jump on Minecraft or whatever the latest game of the day is, you won't get noticed. And that's what I'm noticing. I decided not to bandwagon because I went, there are enough people out there talking about popular games already. Most of them are doing it better than me. So I'm going to try to find a different niche to thrive in, and I like retro games, and retro games are largely not covered on YouTube in an analytical way like how I do it. So I went, hey, that's a great thing to try out. I'm not convinced it's that no one's interested. I'm convinced there are people out there who want to watch that, but nobody knows it's there because it's impossible to find. But I can't get found unless I'm already popular enough that people know how to find me anyway. You see what I'm getting at? And the thing that frustrates me more than anything is not the fact that this problem exists, not the fact that YouTube and Twitch and other forms of new media are very quickly mirroring the worst practices of the old media they seek to replace. It's the fact that this is so easy to fix. This is not necessarily an easy thing to fix in the gaming space or in Hollywood or in television, but it's so easy for YouTube and Twitch to fix this without even necessarily screwing up what's already working for them. Like I complained about this during Extra Life. Just for one day, if Twitch would just put up, either pick some random older game to make promoted, or pick some other current game that's not hyper trendy and that isn't already popular and that people can't find easily. Make Typing of the Dead a promoted game one day. You can still have League of Legends and StarCraft 2 fill in the other two slots, but make Typing of the Dead a promoted game for one day, just a couple of days a week. Do that. Make some indie game a promoted game. Make some early access game a promoted game. Or some Xbox Live arcade gem or PSN gem, something like that. Just do that once in a while and give people who want to focus on that more niche content an opportunity to say stuff with it. If you see a channel, if a Twitch moderator sees a channel that's doing something they think is cool that no one's watching, just make him a promoted channel one day. Let him get a flood of viewers, or her. Let them get a flood of new viewers in who might like them and who might subscribe, and just give them that little kick, because once you get that base, that's all you have to do, is you have to get a certain critical mass base of people following you, and when you do that, stuff will kind of start to snowball, because that audience can kind of organically grow itself, but it's getting over that initial hump that most people can't do. YouTube can do the same thing. Just put like a random small channel that's making cool stuff on your front page once in a while. Make that stuff show up more easily in the related video boxes, things like that. This is not hard stuff to do. They've accomplished much bigger feats. The new YouTube comment system, as broken as it is, was a far bigger feat of engineering than anything I've talked about here. And that's very easy, and that just it makes new content bubble up, and the good stuff will thrive doing it that way. Just give them that little bit of discovery so that people can know they exist, and the people who are doing it well and doing it consistently will grow their audience. I'm convinced there is an audience for Retro Flashback, and I'm convinced that that audience will grow if I can just be given that little chance. But there's no other way to do it. Theoretically, a network partnership might help with that, but most don't, and no network that is reputable will deal with a channel as small as mine. They say you need to get more popular. I ask them how to get more popular, and they never have an answer. So, but most of these networks are tied to the already popular content. And you see this is why I call it a vicious cycle, because it just loops around. And this vicious cycle is what kills most other blockbuster mentality industries. And if these guys aren't careful, it's going to kill them too. All their big content one day will no longer be there, and if they don't have something to replace it, they're doomed. And people like me can fill that void, and we're willing to fill that void. We're willing to work hard and devote a lot of our free time and a lot of our free money in order to make good content. I think I make better content than a lot of people with channels that are bigger than mine. And we're willing to do it, but we're not going to keep doing it forever. I'm not going to keep making videos that get a maximum of, 10 views each. I'm not going to keep doing that indefinitely. Something has got to start growing soon, or I'm going to have to start thinking of something else to do. Because, like I said, this is mostly a fun project, but the whole point of putting things on places like YouTube is to share your fun with other people, and you're just shouting into the wind if no one's watching what you make, and there's kind of no point in that case. So, yeah, I think it's a vicious cycle they're already in. I think they can very easily get out of it, but as with most cycles of this nature, it will eventually crash land if they don't do something about it. And I hope they do something pretty soon, because this can't carry on like this. And if YouTube especially doesn't wake up with regards to this comment stuff, they might find that some of these bigger guys will be gone sooner than they think. Because a lot of guys like Nerd Cubed, who recently posted a rant on this subject, went, you know what? Hosting the videos myself on my own website is incredibly expensive, but I don't have to pay YouTube 45% of my ad revenue when I do that, so maybe it's worth it. Just about any big YouTuber has the resources to do things on their own or have their audience follow them to another site. And YouTube's treading a very fine line, and I think they need to wake up really quick. I think they need to help new guys get noticed, and I think they need to start listening to the big partners who maybe kind of know more about this business than they do now. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting little while. Anyway, I've gone on long enough here, but that's just what I wanted to say about that. I don't think anyone of note from YouTube or Twitch or anything is going to watch this, but hopefully they will, and maybe take something from it. I really want to make a go at this, and I really think it's possible. I just need that little nudge, and I think I can take it from there. But need that nudge. All right, so yeah, that is that. But thank you guys very much for watching, and there will be another retro flashback pretty soon, I hope, as well as maybe an announcement on some other projects. So we'll see what happens. I will see you guys later. Take it easy, guys.